No! I don't want to remember! I don't want to remember! Why is her head like that? Hey Internet, it's Jessica, and welcome back to The Letter. So we are going to continue on with Zachary's route, or chapter I should say, and see what happens, and maybe Isabella can finally tell him what she saw. Darkness immediately welcomes me as soon as my head hits my makeshift pillow. I can only wish the dreams will keep at a distance for now, for both of us. Tuesday, October 25th. The first few notes, while muffled, are enough to wake me. In the end, it became one of those nights when sleep passes like a blink and is plagued with vague fuzzy thoughts. I lift my hand to rub away the drowsiness from my eyes, although it does little to relieve the gritty, burning sensation from my eyelids. Outside, the sun has yet to peek over the horizon, but night has already given way to the cool morning light, washes everything in a subtle gray hues. At this hour, the entire city remains unstirring. Ordinarily, waking up from before my own alarm means abusing the snooze button twice or thrice just to catch at those precious few extra minutes of sleep. That's me every single day. But the persistent ringing makes it impossible now.
This better be good.
Groggily, I scramble for my bag, sitting at the foot of the bed. The ringing still hasn't stopped, even as I fish the phone out, and Ashton's name flashes brightly on the screen when I turn it on. Must be pretty urgent if he hasn't dropped the call yet.
Took you long enough, Z-Man.
Ashton, it's 6 in the morning.
That's too early.
Sun hasn't even risen. Hell, my brain ain't even awake yet. Stop calling me Z-Man.
It's 20 past 6, Zach.
You want to talk? Give me back my 5 extra minutes, Ash. I want my sleep.
Hey, don't make fun of me. I can be a more person too if I want to.
Yeah, you sound like it.
What's this all really about? You don't usually make calls around this hour. Is the world ending today?
Sorry about that. Becca rang me up a few minutes ago looking for Isabella. Said she didn't show up in her own apartment last night. We both tried calling, but her phone seems to be off. Do you have any idea where...
I should have known you two would come looking for her first thing in the morning.
Not a laughing matter, Zach. You can't really let your guard down with everything that's happened here recently. You've heard about the Cooper woman from the news. Everyone in the precinct has been restless ever since the incident the other day.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Listen, Ash, about Bella.
I let my voice trail off, unsure of how to go about recounting last night. If I should even say anything to him. He might be a close friend of the day. Whatever's bothering her ain't mine to speak of in the first place. On the bed, Isabella remains as still as when I transferred her the night before. Sometime during her sleep, she pulls up the blanket over herself and tucked into it comfortably. Like this, it's easy to forget the horror in her eyes, or how much her hands and lips trembled. Save for the firm grip on the edge of the cover, she appears nearly as normal as she would any other day. Almost.
I'm not really sure how to go about this while being...
I mean, I get Zachary's, he's trying to be respectful of Bella, right? Because he's not sure if this is, because he's been through the similar trauma. I know he doesn't know exactly what happened, but being terrified and horrified at something that happened to you. He understands that, and I guess, for his personal experience, he didn't want to share it with anyone, and he's trying to save, that courtesy for Isabella, but I feel like he should tell the others, because they're all involved, right? They all saw the letter.
Zach, what about her?
Something. The worry, the concern, must have surfaced in my tone because his own shifts then. Carefully, as if he's preparing for the worst.
Look, you don't have to worry about her. She's with me right now. Since last night, in fact.
Oh. Why didn't you just say so earlier?
She kinda knocked in the middle of the night. I couldn't possibly wake you two over that. And with how things are when she arrived, I thought it'd be best if I let her rest first. I just wasn't expecting people would be looking for her before the rooster even crows.
You could have at least called her something. Becca's beside herself with worry when she found out.
I guess you could have texted the others, but you know.
You know how much she frets about the smallest stuff.
I know. I'm sorry. That was a lapse on my part. And I just didn't think...
Well, it's not really Zach's fault either. Again, middle of the night. You're not really, fully aware of what's going on.
Okay, you know what? Rebecca's worries ain't completely baseless. Isabella hasn't been her usual self since the movie. Maybe even before that. I don't know if I should be opening my mouth about this, but... Bella didn't outright say I shouldn't.
Yes! Say it!
So something's wrong then?
I'm not quite sure, to be completely honest. I couldn't get the story out of her.
Really? I thought you'd have learned something from me by now.
That's not it. Ash, when she appeared at my doorstep last night, she was shaking, and when I tried to ask her about it, she just panicked. Had this frightened look on her face. I'd be surprised if this was the first time I've seen it, but it ain't. Dude, the first time, she was screaming.
First time? When was this? You weren't talking about the thing in the movie house, are you? Because that was just us fooling around. Granted, I think I went overboard with the joke, but...
No, it happened the day after. When she invited us to lunch.
Right.
You weren't there.
Yeah, Ash wasn't there when she was looking at the window. Remember the girl was like in the window?
We were walking 1 second and then the next, she's crying out. I'll be straight with you. That scared me shitless.
I think that would scare anyone. It bothered him, if the way he fell silent after his telling, but whatever his opinion is stayed absent from his voice when he speaks again. He's always been good like that, hiding what he thinks.
Did she say anything else?
Nothing. Won't tell me anything aside from a few vague words. I didn't want to push it.
Where is she? Is she still sleeping?
Right here with me, still sleeping. Should I wake her up or something? Let her know you guys are looking for her?
No need. Let her rest. I'll drop by in a few.
Today? Don't you have work at this time? I mean, I can drop her off home myself before meeting my client later.
Look who's talking.
My schedule's flexible, Ash.
Yeah,
Last
that's
time I
true.
checked, you're the one who didn't have that luxury.
Yeah, freelancers have a little bit more flexibility than someone who wants to be like a 9-to-5 kind of job.
How on earth do you think I'm able to tag along when you need me?
It's not completely out of the way.
They live on the other side of the town from you, Ash. Your definition of out of the way is a little screwed up.
Also,
you know?
remember, Ash is in love with Isabella, so he's gonna go across the town for her.
It's fine. I have some things I need to do anyway. I'll call you back. I've got to let Becca know that Scared Cat's fine. Bye.
He drops the call before I can even get a word in. For several minutes after, I find myself simply listening as the rest of Luxborn rouses. The increasing sound of the passing traffic, the bustling of the nearby shops preparing for the day, and the growing clamor of people while they go about their morning. Not the most soothing sound to hear following the troubled night, but the routine puts me at ease nevertheless. What's comforting, what's safe, what I'm used to. Nearby, Isabella shifts but doesn't wake, blissfully unaware as the city slowly stirs itself back to life. Was her night as restless as the one I had? Were her dreams as lucid? In hushed moments like this, I envy her. Unreasonable, probably a little unfair, to say such things in the light of last night. If only forgetting is as easy as breathing. A small yawn escapes me when I rise from the couch to stretch. Luckily, the short conversation with Ash has effectively driven away any will to go back to bed. I still have the day to get through despite the probable ghost hanging around. The orange bottle sitting at the edge of my table is reassuring against my palm the instant I pick it up. The sterile odor of the capsule is equally so. Yet the weight that they carry is something I've never gotten used to. What is this for? Years ago, I'd spent minutes, heck even hours staring at a pill prior to taking one in. Now, it's just routine, a way of staving off the unwanted nightly visits. Although I don't think Dr. Navarro will be quite pleased if he ever finds out I'm relying on them again. I do owe him a visit regardless, especially after missing our appointments on purpose and ignoring his calls for weeks. Another sigh comes out, tired and weary. Then I pop the tablet in my mouth.
Zach? What time is it?
Hey, are you okay? The bottle in my hand hits the table with more force than necessary. As much as I trust my friends, there are some things I'd rather keep to myself. It's probably something to deal with he had with his parents and stuff, so that's what I'm taking a guess it is.
Morning, Bella. Did you sleep well?
She answers the question with a long drawn-out yawn, one reminiscent of a child. A chuckle manages to come out of my mouth at the sight. In this manner, it's easy to make her for someone too young for responsibilities, inexperienced and immature even. Easy to forget she was thrust into a role of an adult earlier than her own dreams can afford, to overlook how surprisingly observant she can be at times. Maybe not on the same level as Ash exercises for her investigations, or Rebecca needs for her own work, but it's certainly enough to definitely put what she sees around on her own canvas. And if the way her eyes flicker at the table and my hands say something, it is that I won't be able to avoid the question this time.
Only a little. I don't remember how I ended up on the bed, though.
My doing. You didn't look very comfortable sleeping on the couch, all hunched up like that.
It would have been enough for something temporary. Sorry I stole your bed.
Hey, it doesn't matter. Besides, what kind of gentleman would I be
He's
if I
so
leave a lady
sweet.
sleeping in such uncomfortable conditions? Not in this house. My nana would give me a tough scolding if I ever did that, I'm telling you.
Thanks a lot, Zach. I know I barged in at a very inconvenient time last night. I wasn't really thinking when I did, and...
Hey, it's cool, Bella. I ain't mad at you. That's what friends do. You guys are welcome here anytime, although Ashton abuses the anytime part a lot. I don't really mind. We might have less wiggle room if all four of us are present, considering the size of this place. As long as no one makes anything explode, it's totally fine.
Fine or not, I still owe you one for last night's trouble, especially since you don't seem to be.
A concerned expression passes over her features as she spares another courtesy glance over at the table, back to the bottle holding every small piece of what kept that bad memories at bay. The blood blooming over Pa's heart, the horrified look on Ma's face as she watches him fall lifeless to the ground, and every ounce of spite seeping from the stranger's smile. You don't belong here. You monkeys don't belong here. It never stopped, does it?
Well, you don't seem to be feeling well. Let me know, okay? I'll make it up to you somehow.
Well, at least Bella's not being like, hey, what's that? You know, because it's kind of like, in a way, it is kind of, I get that they're friends and all, but like, there are certain boundaries you don't cross. She makes a slight gesture with her hand towards the bottle. Asking a question without really asking. Suddenly has never been one of her greatest assets, but right now, even Ash would have been a little amazed, if not for a loss of words at that. She has left it up to me whether I'll give her a response she wants to hear or not. A little clever coming from her, if anyone would ask me. Play it off, tell the truth. I mean, I feel like it's okay to tell Bella. Is that just me? I feel like their friendship is, like, good enough for this. But it's never easy, ain't it? Telling my own problems, that is. It will never be easy, not by a long shot. Not when I let this stay for so long. I realized that long ago, when the wounds are still fresh and the dreams are still nightly occurrence, can't force yourself to get better or move on to better things. It's what's normal now, and I can only cope. The question in her eyes may be unwarranted, born simply out of curiosity and sincere concern for a friend. I don't owe her an explanation, in fact, but of all people I chose to keep in my life, she's probably one of the very few who perhaps I can trust with this. Maybe she won't understand entirely, I can never hope she will. No, never to the full extent. That alone is expecting too much of her, and giving her too much of what I can. However, for all her shortcomings, I know she'll hear me out. And that's all I can ask of her.
My bad. I was kinda hoping you wouldn't have seen me with these.
The pills rattle lightly against the container when I gently set it back down to its usual place. Always a small area closest to the laptop near the right hand, within reach whenever a quiet reminder of what I shouldn't miss every day.
What? Oh, is it bad? I was just thinking that maybe it's a cold like Becca's. Do you need me to get anything from the store?
Oh,
Soup or
Bella!
something? There's one nearby,
She's so
right?
sweet!
I can run real quick and...
No, nothing of that sort. I'm perfectly healthy right now. It's really difficult to say, but can you promise me you'll listen at least?
What is this about, Zach?
I should have been upfront with you about this a long time ago. Well, Ashton found out without me telling him anything. But you already know how that guy is.
He's a detective, so he knows.
If it's something you're having trouble saying, you don't have to force yourself to tell me. I'll forget I ever saw anything and won't ask questions. Promise.
No, I need to get this off my chest eventually. Besides, we're already here. Might as well finish what I started, yeah?
If you say so.
She takes a seat on the couch, her posture easy and open, and her smile honest, as if it was just a simple talk between two friends on a regular day. It is far from one, but her usual unreserved air is enough to stamp down any twinge of uneasy that it threatens to come up.
Let's hear it then.
And she does. True on her word, she listens while the story spills out from my mouth. Of Ma and Pa, that little old diner across the pond, and what left me that day. I can't recall most of it now, my own account jagged for a few missing details here and there, the passing years that have eroded most of my recollection of the whole incident. All except for that one moment in the kitchen. The ringing of gunshots are vivid as the sound that day. Even Ma's hysterical screams to the moment Pa's body hit the floor motionless, his lifeblood flowing out from underneath him. And the gunman, he was smiling. When Pa opened the door to welcome him. He was smiling when he put the bullet in Pa's chest and Ma's head. Oh my god! I've heard stories about how the world can be a cruel place for people like us before. I never believed until that moment.
Nan and Gran took us right after that. Sis and I flew straight to New Jersey as soon as they heard the news. A few days after, Ma and Pa were laid to rest. And we have a new home a continent away. I didn't even get the chance to take my favorite pillow with me. They said something about the change of environment will be good for us. They had no idea the different kind of ghosts would follow me here.
I expected questions, mostly those brimming with a childlike curiosity, and maybe some that are a little too hard to answer. But to her credit, she just sat there, lent her ears, and looked at me with no expectations or unnecessary judgment in her eyes. She appears wiser and older like this, easier to see with the breadwinning in her. Her younger siblings are so lucky to have her. When I'm done, and after everything's been said, she wraps her arms around me, a bit awkward considering the gap in our heights, but it gets her sentiment across. But it's difficult to answer this in this kind, if I'm even supposed to reciprocate the gesture given my earlier apprehension. She pulls away shortly with a smile on her face. Not the reaction I braced myself for, but it's obviously better than what I imagined.
Are you not gonna say anything?
Am I supposed to say anything after? Like, apologize or something? I don't think that's very appropriate.
Yeah.
If you want to hear one, I can think of something real quick.
I feel like, yeah, I'm kind of like in the same boat as Isabella. Oftentimes, like, when tragedy happens, I feel like saying I'm sorry doesn't exactly, like, seem appropriate. I don't know, it just seems like you shouldn't say that. I don't know.
Not really. Other people have something to say after usually. And they're not necessarily nice either.
Oh? Okay then. I won't. I can't think of something anyway. Sorry. I'm not very good with this. Who else knows, by the way?
My older sister, grandparents, and just Ash and you for now. Maybe I think I should tell Rebecca too, but...
They're not as close like Isabella and Ash with Zach.
But not right now?
Yeah, not right now. When I'm ready. Like today.
I'm sure she'll be willing to hear you out once you do.
I don't doubt she will. I'm more afraid of how she'll react after. One step at a time, yeah? Whew. Surprisingly, it feels good to get that one out my chest. I was a little afraid you'd be angrier. I didn't tell you earlier than today.
No.
I'm not angry. I'm just surprised. You didn't look like it. I wouldn't have suspected.
Yeah, especially, you know, Zach's character, he's very sweet and kind. He doesn't seem like he has any troubles, like, whatsoever, you know?
I suppose that's how it often is, isn't it? We all have our, what's the word Becca uses? Inner demons? But this is something personal to you. I understand why you'd rather have a few people know.
That too. Well, these past few weeks haven't been easy for you. I didn't want to add that. Not after last night.
Something passes on her face, brief, fleeting, and disappears right before I can recognize what it is.
You okay?
Yep, no worries.
Why won't she
I'll
say?
be fine.
This is bothering me.
Look, about last night, never mind. This isn't a good time.
I feel like she's gonna say it once something terrible happens.
But don't lose sleep over this, alright? What's important is you got what you want to say out. And if you need me, I'll be here.
I should be relieved. Her words are more than reassuring to my ears. There should be comfort in hearing those alone, knowing I have another person to rely on if things go bad. But somehow I find myself worrying more for her instead. I'll make another attempt to get the story out of her if I can. But this stance I know too well, and with her, I doubt forcing her to say something would yield any results. As much as I want to intimate Ash, there's only so much I can ask for that won't result in something a little over disastrous. At best, she'll stop talking to me until a week passes. At worst, I'd rather not risk it. I've never seen her angry. Outright annoyed, maybe often directed at Ash, but never furious. What did they say again about the happiest people when they're angered? Besides, it's unfair to her after our little chat.
So, food then?
She seems relieved at the brisk change of subject, and as if it's been simply waiting for me to cue all this time, her stomach rumbles at the mention of food. Rather loudly, as a matter of fact.
Alrighty, Missy. We're going to get some chow now. Better be quick, though. Can't have your stomach starting a revolution on us here.
Don't make fun of me. I'm not that hungry. Maybe a little. I didn't think I'd end up skipping dinner last night.
And now we have one starved stomach protesting. Sorry, it'll be nothing fancy, since I'm a little low on stocks. I should probably drop by the grocery store after the meeting this afternoon.
I can make a quick run for you if you want.
Nah, I've got enough to put together something nice here. Maybe.
Cause Zach can cook.
I could always improvise if we're missing an ingredient or two. It ain't like we're going for a Michelin 3-star status here. Also, didn't I say you're a guest? Is this a Filipino thing? Or just Rebecca rubbing off on you?
The soft laughter that comes after her doesn't quite reach her eyes. The answer is neither, because if she stays idle, she'll remember.
On second thought, I might need a little help slicing up the potatoes while I prep the
At least Zach is trying to, like, help her cope in some way. It's nice.
You up for that?
What? Do you think instant noodles are all I'm about? I'll have you know, I can cook a mean paella with my eyes closed. All my siblings love it.
Sure you can. Come on. I think I know what we'll do with those spare ingredients.
Despite the massive effort to keep the mood light with a small chatter, cooking ends up being mostly quiet affair. Between us, the consistent clapping of the knives against the board and the muffled noise from the television I left running, words have become surprisingly difficult string together. Not entirely unusual, we've had moments like this before, but definitely unnerving with how things are. I really wish someone else would come knocking at the door. As pleasant as this is, breaking the ice or keeping a conversation going has never been my forte. That has always been Isabella's or Rebecca's department. Sometimes Ash, almost most coming from him border on awkward or embarrassing. Speaking of the guy, he never did call me back, and I'm willing to bet that my entire yearly salary that he fell right back into sleep after that call. Oh.
Sorry, Bella, could you...
Yep, I got it. The potatoes are almost ready, by the way. I turned down the heat just in case. You might want to check on them, though. Hold on, I'll be right there. Sheesh, wait up. If you keep rapping at the door like that, you'll break it down. Ash.
Oh, good. You're awake.
Hey. Ash has already welcomed himself in when I take my eyes away from the oven. He's never been really keen with the notion of courtesies after he warmed up to you, this guy. All 13 of my locks he broke and attest to that. Jesus! He's a good fellow, though. Maybe a bit too standoffish at first glance, but he's trustworthy.
Don't you have work today?
I could ask the same of you. Hey, Z-Man.
You're late. Something came up? You need to drop the Z-Man. It's getting old.
Sorry, I got caught with something at the precinct on the way here. Had to attend to that first before things got out of hand. I'd tell you about it, but you know how it can be with those kinds of things. Later, maybe.
And you're here because...
What? I'm not allowed to say hello?
I doubt you're here because of that. And you're not answering my question.
Ah, my bad. Forgot to mention that. He called earlier looking for you. Rebecca's worried because you didn't come home last night.
You could have called my cell instead.
You weren't picking up. Anyway, I'd really hate to cut this little get-together short, but I need to be somewhere else. Come on, Isabella, let's get you home. I'll drop you off on the way.
Oh, okay.
Wait, we're going now?
He lightly claps a hand on her arm and begins ushering her out of the apartment, throwing a casual wave at me as they pass by. Isabella, on the other hand, doesn't appear too fond of the idea. And sure enough, before they can even cross the threshold, she puts a firm foot down. The force alone is enough to halt both of them and catch the taller man off guard. It would have made for a funny picture. The way Ash almost crashed into her, and Isabella giving him an indignant pout over the shoulder. Surprise and confusion are all on his face at once, two things that are rarely ever graceful if he can help it. A rare moment even for a small group. If only I had my camera with me. Dang.
What is it?
Zach cooked something.
If it's just food, I'll get you something on the way
Don't
back.
be rude, Ash!
But the food! It's Zach's cooking. Real delicious food that actually tastes like food. At least stay and have a bite. Please, Zach, help me here.
These two, whenever they're in the same room, something feels like they're hurting a group of unruly kids instead of talking to two mature adults. One moment they're engaged in pleasant chit-chat, the next they're bickering over a minor issue. Frankly, I didn't know any better, I have to say, and I have an overreactive imagination. I'd say there's something going on. Even Zach knows. Never mind how utterly impossible that idea is. Or it might be just me reading too much into things like always. I can already hear Ash's laughter, if I so much as suggest it. This, however, I cooked up a feast, I know you're busy. Please stay! I want to know why he's like wanting to leave so bad. Aside from work, I feel like it's something else. Please stay.
I don't know about you two, but I think you guys should really stay. I've already made enough food for all of us, and it'd be a waste. Why, I cooked up that special honey-glazed ham you two keep on yapping about. Got some scalloped potatoes with onions and cheddar to go with it, too.
The oven timer dings. I shoot the two of them an apologetic look before sauntering to the kitchen, mittens in hand. The sweet smell of the glaze and salty tang and melted cheese wafts through the air as soon as I open the door and take out the two trays inside. The scent immediately fills the entire room, and even with the door and windows open, the mouth-watering aroma lingers. It's appealing enough to when I put it on dishes down on the counter. Another starved stomach protests loudly, followed by a burst of laughter. My head snaps up to the two of them, and I can't keep the smile at the sight they make. Isabella is clinging to the doorframe for support, doubling over with the breathless laughter. Ash is the more composed of the two, trying to look unconcerned with a flush, as the flush crept over his neck and cheeks. It's clear whose stomach that came from, and Isabella's not going to let him live this down.
You're in no place to reject an offer of free food.
Also, it's free food, right? Because you don't have to buy anything. Like, Ash doesn't have to buy anything. You just get eat here.
I wasn't rejecting anything. Damn it, I just missed a meal, that's all.
Aw, he's flustered.
Shut it! Those guys at the precinct said it was urgent. Somebody has to be responsible for it.
Well, aren't you precious?
Right. You know, if you keep laughing like that, you'll burst.
I'm sure it won't be as bad as your stomach suddenly rumbling like a starved.
Hi, kiddos, play nice. Food's gonna get cold if we keep this up. Ash, you gonna stay?
Might as well, since Scaredy Cat's so hell-bent on staying.
Yay! They're all eating together! We eventually settle down after the food has been served. The GB is replaced by another round of friendly chatter, mostly about what's going in the news the night before. There is, however, a conscious effort to avoid mentioning what's currently on the headlines. The dead is never a good topic to talk over food and polite company. This case in particular, the wounds are too fresh, too soon. I'd like to avoid it as well if I were in her position. As someone I personally knew passed away in the gruesome manner like that, I thought perhaps the closest we got to broaching off the topic is when the infamous mansion is brought up again. But even then, we are careful, as Ash and I. We keep the conversation light and avoiding bringing up the late business partner. It's the least we could do.
The Wrights? Yeah, they're planning to move in soon. In fact, they already have a housewarming party planned. It's why they wanted us to rush the papers. They wanted to send the invitations out as soon as possible.
Oh, now I get it.
Get what?
Remember what I told you last night about the new clients?
Vaguely? Sorry. I was a little out of it yesterday. Was it the photo shoot?
Yep. It's actually for the one you sold. Ermengarde. Something.
Ermengarde.
When you put it that way, I suppose it makes sense why my boss wants me to prioritize the couple. They can have those documents rushed at just a snap of their fingers. Then they're more influential than I initially thought. And I guess my boss is expecting a lot more from this project than I expected. Hope I can live up to it.
Your photographs are more than good enough, Zach. You'd probably win an international award if you let yourself.
Aww.
Ma'am Hana's easy to please, too. As long as you're good at following instructions.
Easier said than done. Different clients have different tastes after.
Still, a week? I don't think that's possible.
Now that you mentioned
So
it,
this is before
yeah,
you went to go interview
they wanted
them.
everything finished at the earliest. To be honest, it's not unheard of, but...
But it's still still weird, yeah?
A slip of the tongue. Still very noticeable to someone who's already familiar with Ash's ways, yet in this moment it's impossible to miss. I shoot him a curious glance but he ignores it. Rather importantly,
I can't exactly say it's like that, where I'm just the middleman after all. As much as I want to comment on it, I only know what's on the surface. It's just that BRC and my boss are more hands-on with the legal stuff this time, despite having a separate department dedicated to it.
Maybe Mr. Wright helped with it too. They have their own legal team for this, don't they?
Well, they should have one. Especially for a big property like this.
They have, but like I said, it's off our hands. Rose and I don't handle this stuff in the office. If anything, to me, this just means I'll be able to send the rest of the funds to Papa's treatment earlier.
I guess that makes a whole lot of sense. Officially off our instant noodle diet, aren't we?
Ash, has anyone ever told you that you have an uncanny way of ruining the mood?
What? I was just saying. A few more months of stuffing your face with those, and I'm sure you'll start to look like a noodle cup. That's a pretty picture.
At least I don't live off convenience store food. Or make poor, unassuming pressure cookers explode.
What? How did you... Oh, come on, Zach.
Sorry, it just came up while we were cooking earlier.
I'm impressed, Ashton Frey. You even made it to the news.
A one-time thing. And it wasn't as big as you seem to be imagining.
Oh, sure. Let's all pretend that one time you almost set my apartment on fire didn't happen too.
Hey, that was an accident.
You were making a salad, Ash.
how do you set the kitchen on fire while making salad?
Can we please move on to a different topic?
It helps, the casual talk, the harmless teasing, and the mundane stories interesting enough to let the time pass unnoticed. By the time lunch ends, the shadows are no longer at the forefront of my mind. If it's the same for Isabella, for whatever troubles her, I can tell. These things, the anxiety, the fear, they ain't easily seen, ain't easily forgotten after all.
You go on ahead. I've got a few things I need to ask Zach. I'll be downstairs in a minute.
Confusion briefly flashes in her eyes as she catches the keys that he tossed over, but he doesn't give her an answer, and he waits for her to go ahead.
How sure are you I won't be driving away with your Shirley?
You don't even have a license. Do you even know how to?
Papa taught me how. I'm probably a better driver than you. See you later, Zach. Thanks for the food.
Always has to have the last word, don't
She's
you?
saying thanks, Ash.
You're welcome. I'll send you the recipe for the potatoes tonight.
A grin is back on her face when she leaves and closes the door behind her. For a little while after we're left alone, Ash goes wholly quiet, listening, waiting for her remaining footsteps to leave in the hall to fade. The earlier amusement is gone from his face, replaced by what I can only describe as trepidation. I know that look too well. When he's like this, he's expecting shit about to go down at some point.
That wasn't very nice, Ash. What was that with Isabella earlier? You're usually subtler with your questions.
They hired you.
Hired me who? Don't change the subject yet. What's really going on here?
The Wrights. Luke and Hannah Wright.
Yeah.
You said your next gig is with them.
Yeah?
Is that what this is all about?
Just be careful around them. You have no idea what you're dealing with when it comes to that couple. I'd rather you stay as far away from them as possible.
Why?
But you're already here. Isabella's their real estate agent. Seriously, of all the people in Luxburg.
I don't think it's Hannah, right? Is it Luke? Does he, because he's always gone. Let's be honest here. Hannah stays at home because she doesn't work anymore. It's Luke.
Okay. I guess I'll just have to take your word for it.
He nods, clasps a comforting hand on my back, and turns to leave without another word. He's never been good with those. More often he fumbles with the way he says, but his actions alone are enough to tell how grateful he is for the trust. He reaches for the knob as soon as he gets to the door, but doesn't turn it. Instead, he looks back and gestures with his head towards the table. I don't need to follow his line of sight to know what he's going to ask about. He's likely taking notice the moment he entered the room.
You back on those? I haven't seen you taking them in a year.
Yeah, I kinda had to. It got worse after the film fest. The dreams, that is. I don't think I'll be doing that again anytime soon.
Heard about that. Don't drop it, though. You don't want Becca scolding you. She actually enjoyed the movie you made, and she's hard to please.
Well, at least, I know Ash is kind of like not good at comforting people, but at least he's just like, don't give up yet. That's nice of him to say.
Consider that a small victory.
You don't have to tell me. She already did. Rebecca and Bella both gave me an earful after I said the opposite. Promised them I wouldn't, but you can never tell. Hopefully, once I feel better, I'll be able to think about it properly. Speaking of Bella, she didn't open up to me, but maybe with you and Rebecca.
Yeah, I'll try. I can't promise anything, but I'll talk to her.
Thanks. That's all I'm asking.
This time, when he reaches for the door, he lets it close fully behind him without glancing back. A mild draft sweeps into the room as I close the door behind him, slightly disturbing the papers on the nearby fridge. A low note flutters by my feet, the letters on the surface glaring at me with a mute intensity. Ermengarde Mansion, Hannah Wright, 11 a.m. for luxury living. After Ashton's warnings, they all hold different meanings now. Thursday, October 27th. The next 2 days rushed by in a blur, altogether leaving a collective mass of work suddenly piling up on a new unexpected acquaintance or friends? Depending how you look at it, really. Either way, I'm stuck developing these photos at 3 in the morning to reach a deadline by an overeager art director. Don't get me wrong, Julius is good, has vision, and knows what he wants, but damn, he can be too enthusiastic sometimes.
Doesn't matter when you couldn't sleep anyway.
Oh my god, this reminds me of like when I used to do like freelance art jobs. I would not be sleeping. There's nothing new in it, of course. After years of working as a freelance photographer, it's simply something I've grown used to. Get to know people, build a client base, do good work, cash in some late hours if need be, rinse and repeat. It certainly takes a while to get some footing on the field, but it's the kind of thing that pays off in the long run as long as you keep at it. Giving enough time, you might end up in a big name on your client list. Names like the Wrights in particular. I never did pay much attention to them, but it's virtually impossible not to hear about them when the local news channel or paper has something to say on their name. Party here, an accusation there, something in the new business venture, other times is everyday gossip that typically follows popular people like them. Not in a million years did I ever imagine I would end up working for such a high-profile couple. And between that and the fuss that comes with, it leaves you with no time to ponder over whatever happened to Isabella or why Ash is so adamant we keep away from the pair.
They do seem like the good folk, though, despite the whole fame thing.
Sure, there was a rumor running around years ago about him being involved in some business scandal, but it's just like every gossip blown out of proportion by the media. Nothing came of it, and eventually it simply died down. Much is definitely left to be said about for the husband, but I doubt the woman like Miss Wright would pick him if he doesn't have any good points at all. Miss Wright. Hannah herself, though. She ain't particularly bad the way the press make out her to be. The tabloids had it all wrong, that's for sure. For someone born with a silver spoon in her mouth, well, she ain't exactly what I was expecting. Among other things, the newfound friendship is what I at least expected from her, but here we are. Although with a life as public as the Wrights, no wonder the woman who often gets the crappy end of the stick. Can't help but feel sorry for her. She's a real nice person when you give the chance. Yes, I'm glad I gave her the chance. I really am, because I do kind of like Hannah. Heck, she might have really ended up being friends with Rebecca and Isabella too, if they weren't living worlds apart. Probably. The beat quickly pulls me back from my thoughts traveling any further. In one practice motion, I carefully place the wet print I'm holding on the dry rack and amble over the makeshift dark room to get the last photos from the water bath. Inside the conveyor broom closet, the film processor lets out another shot crackle before going on of a standby mode. And its mouth. A lone photographer sits on the tray, barely visible to lack of light. It's the last one tonight for the set Miss Wright requested. Don't usually make this habit, giving away stuff that is. It's bad for the business, no matter how well-intentioned or generous you are. That's true. If you have your own business, especially like something like art or photography or something like that where you make something, don't give it away for free. Doesn't matter if it's your friends or family. Your friends and family should be supporting your job, right? Don't give things away. I think Zach is just giving it to Mrs. Wright or Hannah because he kind of likes her. This exception, however, she did treat me well and was pleasant and companion all through the shoot. Even if she didn't ask, I would have probably given her a few prints just for the hell of it. Yeah, that's what I fucking thought. Miss Wright ain't such a bad subject matter to begin with, and maybe it's just me, but for someone who has everything to the palm of her hands, all the money in the world, a loving husband, and plenty of big mansion to call home, she's lonely. It doesn't just appear like it. It shows in the tone of her voice, how she moves, and most certainly in her smiles, always hidden behind the glamour for the world to never see. Sometimes for people like her, small things like these help, a little reminder that the world can be kind too. Water drips from the paper as I blindly pick it up and gently lay it on another tray holding a decent amount of photo flow. A few seconds under the solution is all it needs before it's ready for drying. No good rushing in the last one, even if my body's already screaming for some decent snooze. My hands fumble in the light switch, moving towards the familiarity, while I fish for a squeegee among the mess of tools on the drawer with the other. The light bulb flickers twice before a glow settles and casts a soft light on the tiny space. When I glance back down, the squeegee in hand, ready to finish the process and finally call it a night. Oh god, what's happening?
What on earth?
What is it? Oh. That's not nice. Ghost lady, that's not nice! Her head is gone. Blurred and distorted beyond recognition, rather. The area completely smudged over, leaving no trace of the same sweet smile the good woman carried in the previous print.
Damn, that was too careless.
A common mistake for someone, of course, if one negligent enough to pick a newly processed photo in the dark, like I apparently did. It has happened before, loads of times actually. Pretty sure it's not you, Zach. Pretty sure it's the girl. But I still can't help but feel a small pang of frustration over one mistake a newbie would have likely made. With a sigh, I reach up the switch again, intending to develop a new one from scratch. Oh my god, I'm scared.
It could pass off for one of those supernatural pictures they show on TV, though.
Ah, very funny you say that. A memory clicks. One corsary throughout the sea of many, and a short yet distant second for the day before. A glimpse is all I got, but it's enough to burn the image in my mind. There was a shadow. Ah! No! No, I don't want to remember. Why is her head like that? Ew, you can see her brain and stuff. I didn't even realize that before. Ew, why? No, a woman in her 20s or early 30s maybe? But with how far gone her flesh alone had become, it's not possible to tell at first glance. The skin itself has already taken sickly pale color, rotten for most part, blood dripping from the open gash and the liaison of her body. Bony hands grip Mrs. Wright's neck like a noose, straining the skin underneath with a vibrant shade of scarlet. Nothing but malice fills the gleam in her eyes.
Zachary?
Not for me, but for Miss Wright.
Zach? Is something the matter?
Oh god, he's just creeping me out because of the noises. Ugh.
Oh no, there's nothing wrong. I just remembered something, that's all. Let's get back to the pictures. Can you move a bit more to the left, yeah?
The memory alone is enough to make me retch. I brush it off then. A trick of the eye, I told myself, or a product of the heat. The weather has been unexpectedly warm recently, so it shouldn't be too surprising for such things to happen. Why does nobody think maybe that's a ghost? Why doesn't anybody think that? And while blaming this on the usual fatigue and overworked brain, the weather or an amateur error on the part is far more convenient. It makes a whole lot of sense while the small voice inside my head whispers. The same tiny voice only makes itself known when something afoul, the same one that lent curious ear to Isabella's worries about the mansion. And with each second I spend staring at this photograph, the murmur in my head only grows louder against my ear. Someone has to know. Show the photo to Hannah, show the photo to Ash. Okay, out of all the people so far, I think Ash is the only one who hasn't seen the girl. It's just Hannah, right? So maybe I should show it to Hannah? Because she has seen the girl, but she's like, oh, maybe it's just, you know, trick of the lights. But I feel like Hannah would believe him more over Ash. I don't know, because Ash seems more like a practical kind of person, you know? He needs evidence, and then he'll believe it. Hannah, I feel like, she's the same way, but she's more lenient to believe people, if that makes any sense. I don't know, maybe I should show Hannah? I'm gonna show Hannah. I don't have an explanation for what I saw yesterday yet, but when you've been there, seen something enough to raise the hairs on the back of your neck, or at least leave you to wanting to flee or hide, finding a more solid proof than a person's smudged off face on the photo is the least of my concerns. Ashton would definitely give me a flack for saying that, or even considering Isabella's words for those silly tales about the place. The guy's a skeptic through and through. It'll take more than my account for him to give him a single thought. However, more than his opinion, it's Miss Wright's I'm concerned about. Surely she must have felt something if those shows on TV are to be believed. A touch of coldness on her neck, or maybe the feeling of being washed. That's what often happens, ain't it? Outside, the sun is yet to rise. I still got a few hours before dawn. Good enough time to mull over how I'm about to go about warning her. Plenty of space to check if I'll get the same results if I redo the process again. The film processor hums back to life in my touch. The light switch gives out a soft click, and darkness embraces the small closet again. Oh my god.
Somehow those urban legends don't sound so silly now.
Is Zachary starting to believe it? Okay, looking at our relationship, totally went up with Isabella. We're totally best friends with her. Went up with Ashton because we were, I guess we're upfront about everything with him. And now we're gonna go see Hannah. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna end this episode of The Letter right here. I'm scared. I don't know if I made the right choice in showing Hannah the picture, but I just feel like she would believe it more than Ash, because Ash hasn't really seen anything yet. Or, I don't know, he might have, but in his chapter we'll find out later on. But so far, I don't think he's seen anything yet, so that's a little bit concerning. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like, let me know in the comments what you think, and be sure to subscribe and hit the bell button so you know when I upload the next episode of The Letter. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye! Okay? What is going on? Okay, take out your phone and start. Okay, I really didn't expect the cat to be Mike Wazowski all of a sudden. You gave me this cat. I loved him and you had it.